What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of of the Hoops All In podcast. I'm your host, World's Francois, as always, joined by Keith Bays. And Keith, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. March Madness has begun, and we got our top 10 power forwards this week, and a few other things we're going over. But I'm doing good.
Yeah, man. Should be a good episode, as you mentioned. March Madness has begun. As you can tell, working for CBS, it's constant basketball games, but that's the beauty of the sport. If you guys are new, don't forget to follow us on our social media. We're Hoops All In on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Also, don't forget to follow Keith's Hoops All In channel at Keith HAI. So check him out. He does good work on there. So yeah, as Keith, you just mentioned, the madness has begun. So let's get into it. We talked about March Madness again, probably the best time of the year. You got
Mhm.
nonstop basketball games for the next 2 weeks. Right now we're in the round of 32 as we speak, and then we're gonna soon head to the Sweet 16. But yeah, Keith, what are some of your thoughts on the March Madness? Any surprise, any upsets? What are your overall thoughts in this year so far?
So I have over the years, I've started to get into college basketball more. I will admit I'm not the most in tune like I am with NBA, but I do keep up, and I live pretty close to UConn, so UConn's the team I rep.
Sorry, what
But
happened today?
Yeah. I mean, good fight. Florida's was probably, yeah, I mean, they're a number one seed for a reason, but UConn showed, I mean, defending champs that, you know, can't take them lightly, and they showed that. But yeah, I mean, I've been pretty surprised because there really haven't been too many wild game like upsets. Like obviously you get the like the 5 versus 12 see like a Clemson and the McNeese game, or like you get some games like that, but really no big teams have fallen up until St. John's lost to Arkansas. Two pretty crazy good coaches going against each other. Arkansas walked away with that one, and that was a 2 seed. I believe that's the highest seed we've seen fall so far. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, March Madness to me is like I mean, it's the best playoffs that we have in any sport, professional or college, just because especially on these first few days, I mean, games start from noon and they go to like midnight basically by the time the last games are ending. So you got nonstop basketball, and I mean, at this time of the year with NBA, a lot of guys are resting. Some teams know where they're gonna be. Some of the upper teams are, well, like the Cavs, the Celtics, the Thunder, they're kind of resting their guys a little bit because they know where they're gonna finish pretty much. But March Madness has been carrying that. But yeah, it's just surprising that we haven't seen really too many upsets, because that's what you always think of when you're filling out a bracket, and it's like I can't have all these higher seeds advancing. Someone's going to get upset, but this year it really hasn't been too many so far. So,
Yeah. No, no, yeah. I mean, so far, nothing crazy. Like a couple years ago, when you remember, Virginia, who was like the
mm,
first or second ranked seed, going down to a 16 seed, or we have like a St. Peter's making, I believe, all the way to the Elite Eight, which is
mhm,
insane.
yeah,
But like a few upsets, like you mentioned, St. John's losing to Arkansas
mhm,
yesterday. I was heartbroken. Obviously, being a New York native living down Long Island, definitely was rooting for St. John's. As that program has been, laughing stock for many many years. Chris
mhm,
Mullin tried to bring it up from a purgatory, didn't go so well. Now having a coach in Rick Pitino, who's a Hall of Fame coach.
mhm,
They were the second seed. They had an awesome season. I believe they won 30 some plus games.
mhm,
Definitely was an upset losing to Arkansas, but Coach John Calipari, there's a reason why he's a Hall of Fame coach in his own right. McNeese State making it to the round of 32.
mhm,
That was, pretty clear slight upset that I can say.
mhm.
I'm looking at again the brackets, nothing out the ordinary. As you mentioned, UConn, they put up a good fight against arguably, possibly
I
the
know,
national championship this year,
I
because
know,
Florida's a really, really good team. And listen, it is hard as hell to three-peat in any sport, whether it's
no, yeah,
collegiate,
for sure.
professional. So Dan Hurley can have a losing season for the next decade or until he retires or die. He already has a statue cemented outside that arena. When you win two back-to-back national
Yep.
championships, for that school, for that program, they gave you lifetime contract because that's incredibly hard to do. Winning one is hard to do. He won both two
Yeah.
back to back years, incredibly hard. But yeah,
He picked us over the
nothing.
Lakers for a reason.
Exactly. I mean, maybe the most like probably upset that you can see is like Illinois. Well, they were 16, they beat Xavier. But yeah, I mean, like you said, maybe New Mexico beating Marquette, a 10th seed,
Yeah.
seventh seed.
Uh,
A lot of people did predict Kentucky to lose against Troy. That was an upset alert because
yes.
Kentucky obviously they took a step back, as we just mentioned. John Calipari is no longer there. But yeah, UNC. They lost in the first round actually as the 11th seed, but there was question marks about should they even be there before because their AD was also on the board. But yeah, nothing, like you said, no crazy upsets. Maybe it'll be like
Yeah.
team that's 4 or 5 seed less, but not like a 16 or 15 upsetting a 2 or 3 or 4. So yeah,
I
but
assume
we still got a lot of games left.
I assume you filled out a bracket?
Yeah, I did. My bracket was done. I had St. John's winning the whole thing, and then after
Yeah.
that.
Okay, yeah. Did you do it through ESPN?
No, I did it through our network
You
of.
did? Okay, all right. I didn't know. Mine, I was gonna see if does it tell you the percentage of what you've got so
I
far or
think
no?
let me
Or the
tell you real
points or
quick
something?
because it was in doing a pool of our people in our department.
Mhm.
Let me pull up the app real quick. I
I'll
think
say
so.
I have just under 81%. So, I mean, again, a lot of I was surprised that there was still a perfect bracket going into day 4. I mean, I think last year after the round of 64, I don't know if there was any last year after the round of 64 first couple days, but
Yeah,
the last bracket just got broke. They got 42 games in a row up until I think the Illinois Kentucky game that was today, but
yeah. Like I think there was like only three left. Okay, so I had filled out two brackets, so I have one left. My first bracket, I had St. John's winning. I
Mhm.
was in sixth place. At least I'm better than somebody who picked High Point to win the whole damn thing because I went there.
Yeah.
And somebody picked Iowa State. I don't know why they would pick Iowa State
Uh,
to win.
yeah, I mean,
And then my second one that I'm in, I have Florida winning the whole thing. I am tied for first. Somebody has Duke winning the whole thing. So yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
again, I don't follow crazy, but my ESPN one just has Auburn. That's just one of the top teams that I know the most about. So that's kind of just who I have picked. But it's like this is one of the things where you really can't like some people like when you do like predict the playoffs or like things like you can kind of like pick at people who pick like crazy things because it's a 7 game set like this. Like you don't like if someone has like a Iowa State, who I think what they're a 3 seed or something or something like that, being in the championship. It's just so hard to predict. You can't really like say, "Oh, you're crazy for picking that," because now if you pick a high point to win, then you're gonna be looked at like crazy. But I mean, you pick a top seed, really, it's kind of like anyone has it's I mean the most picked champions, I mean 25% of people pick Duke, 21% of people pick Florida, and about 10 and a half people picked Auburn, as it says on my ESPN app. So um but yeah, I mean it's definitely the most fun to watch. We haven't seen really too many crazy buzzer beaters. Maryland actually just got one. They just beat CSU. I don't even know what school that stands for. Colorado State. They just Derek Queen just had a walk-off two-pointer with a second left. So Maryland advanced, but we haven't seen too many crazy buzzer beaters yet either. Now, granted, we still got like the Sweet 16 hasn't even started yet, but yeah. So I mean, it's been fun.
Yeah, can't wait, can't wait.
All right. Next, we're gonna go through our most unappreciated players in the league. Kind of guys that like, at least for me, it's pretty much saying underrated to an extent, but like even if you're underrated, like some teams outside of whatever team this plays on's fan base maybe just doesn't really know what they do or like how valuable they are to some teams. So we've kind of both picked a few guys. I've got 5 guys, but I'll go from bottom to top. So my number 5 I picked and I tried to not pick like I didn't pick all-star or all-star like like really good players. I tried to pick like bench players or like good starters, but This goes
Now, are
probably
we just basing it off this season based on players' eligibility or just
um I didn't really I think most of my guys are I think are eligible, but I kind
okay?
of just went based on yeah, because some of these players it's their first year with the team. Or well, one of my players, it's the first year on their team, and just kind of like a piece that I think if they weren't on the team, it would be a kind of a rough spot to fill, or it'd be it would matter if they got hurt or like if
Okay,
they, you know, just to an extent. That's kind of just how I did it. The again, I tried to not pick like all-star caliber guys. I tried to pick, you know, lower guys. My obvious like honorable mention that like again, I think he's just too good to put in the list was for me was Dyson Daniels. Like he would have been number one because I mean, like three steals a game on the Hawks really aren't that great of a defense. Like obviously Trey Young is the main thing of that, but
mhm.
Dyson Daniels just making his impact felt on a not great defensive team, and it's just crazy good. But again, I didn't want to put a guy like that on here just because I wanted to leave it to the um you know lesser players. But
Yeah, absolutely.
my number 5 actually is Aaron Gordon because he has been hurt a lot this year, but for the Nuggets, I mean, even when they won the championship and the whole time he's been there, he's really the perfect four man to put alongside Jokic. He's a good defender. He's a big body. He's obviously a lob threat, a good cutter. Um, he's shooting 46% from three, but he's only taking three attempts a game. So he's got 14 points, 5 rebounds a game. Again, he's been hurt a little bit this year, but I think if he wasn't on the team like at all throughout any of these years, like that's a hard spot to fill. Being alongside a guy like Jokic, who's a system in itself. But yeah, Aaron Gordon's my fifth.
I like that. I like that. All right, so I guess I can go with my fifth. So for me,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to go with Austin Reeves from the Los Angeles
Okay.
Lakers.
Yeah.
I believe Nick Wright said it a couple. Actually, no, Nick Wright said it. It's funny. He said it a couple years ago that Austin Reeves was a better number third option on a championship team than Bradley Beal, and a lot of people called him crazy. Now he's looking to be right. Like
Yeah.
Austin Reeves. Remember that take on I think it was what, first show First Things First.
Not off the top of my head, but I mean, if this was a few years ago, you said,
Yeah, I think it was like 3, 4 years ago.
yeah, I
Probably.
can see why he was looked at as crazy because that was when Beal was probably still close to 30. But obviously, yeah, I 100% agree with what he's done with his
Yeah,
how he stepped up this year.
yeah, definitely. He's just notching on almost 20 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's shooting 45% from the field. And remember,
Mhm.
he had a 45-point game
He
when I
did.
think Luke and LeBron didn't play.
Yeah.
So he's capable of putting the ball in the basket.
Hmm.
He's a sneaky defender, gets steals, pit pocket you. He get to the rim. He could make free throws. I think he's really, really unappreciated. When you think of the Lakers, you automatically think of Luke and LeBron, but a lot of people don't think about all series. And I think he's arguably one of those players. I wouldn't say who's untouchable because if a team offers a great package for him, you're going to trade away. I think the
Right.
Lakers would pull the move. When you say, okay, if you gonna get Austin Reeves, you got to give like a borderline all star, a
Yeah.
perennial all star to get him. So yeah, definitely Austin Reeves for me is number 5. Definitely underrated.
Yeah, I mean, and his playmaking jump too. I think that really like separates. Like I'll use the Beal example. I think if you swap the two, I
Mhm.
think Beal. I don't think Beal would be like as good as what Reeves is doing because again, Beal can score. A lot of people just don't like Beal because of the contract, right? And what he's done with the whole no
Yeah,
trade clause
yeah.
stuff and all the drama he's brought. But
Mhm.
I think like if I think Austin Reeves is better for the Lakers, and honestly, I think if Austin Reeves was on the Suns, he would be a better fit than what Bradley Beal is
I
too. Just
agree.
because his playmaking jump, too, I think has been better. Because at one point he was just like kind of the fan favorite, the token white guy that was like he wasn't anything crazy, but he was kind of a fan favorite that the Lakers fans didn't want to trade him away. But
Mhm.
now he's like no, you don't trade Like now, you don't trade Austin Reeves because I mean, again, unless you're getting something offered something crazy. But again, the Lakers aren't probably going to ever get offered something like that. So, yeah,
Especially the heist that they pulled getting Luca. Nobody gonna show
yeah,
it.
right, right. They did it once. I guess they could do it again. But my fourth is Moses Moody. Moses Moody he had a rough first like 3 years of his career. Steve Kerr never really played him and Kaminga, if we're being honest, in the first couple years. Kaminga kind of got in the rotation a lot last year too, but Moses Moody really, I mean, he's still only averaging 21 minutes a game, but through his first 3 years, he was averaging 14 minutes a game. Um, and I'm sure a lot of those in that first year or two was like garbage minutes, because he really didn't play that much when I was watching the finals in 2022. Now, granted, it was the playoffs, everyone has a shorter rotation, but I mean, he's a knockdown shooter. I mean, 38% from three, 10 points. Again, he's only playing 21 minutes, but he's finally got Steve Kerr's trust, which it's kind of hard to do because right, the Warriors have always had this system that a lot of good players couldn't really ever fit into, which is why it's hard to kind of get young players implemented over there. But Moses Moody has become a real rotational piece for me. I think he should get more minutes. I think he's more reliable than what like Buddy Hield is giving you now, especially now. Like Buddy Hield, yeah, he could have a 30-point game, but he could also have a 6-point game. Moses Moody is, I think, a little bit more consistent, even though he doesn't give you those big point outbursts like a guy like Buddy Hield could do. So, yeah, Moses Moody, he's my fourth.
I like that. I like that. All right. For me, I'm gonna go with Lou Dort from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, when you think of OKC, you think of Shea, presumptively
Hmm.
going to be the MVP this year, and then you think of Chet being a number two,
Hmm.
or actually Jalen Williams, and then Chet, 2, 3. But you got
Yep.
Lou Dort again, he's a stify defender, can knock down
Yeah.
shots, very very aggressive. Not a lot of people think about his play, and especially too when there were times when either Shea got in foul trouble, which is rare, or Jalen got in foul trouble. He can score. He's a consistent 3 point
Hmm.
shooter. So I think he should get much more love. I think for me, he's number four as underappreciated players because he can legit guard 1 through 4 in positionless NBA.
Hmm.
Again, like I said, attack the rim. He can defend. Very very strong guard. So he definitely should get some more love, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, especially in the beginning of his career, he could not shoot, like, he was one of those guys like, he was really not a great shooter, but, yeah, he's evolved to be one of the best 3 and D guys you can get, and he's probably it's hard to say with the all defensive teams, especially this year, but he could definitely get in there on the second team, but I feel like there's so many guys on OKC that could get all defensive love this year, so but I think he's definitely one of this year, he's probably the best or second best defender on that team. My number 3 is Brooke Lopez. Now the Bucks have
Ooh.
had a up and down season. They haven't been great against great teams, which again, it's not obviously everyone can't be great against the great teams. That's what makes the upper team so good. But I mean, Brooke Lopez is about to be 37 years old. I mean, still just under 13 points, 5 rebounds. Never been a great rebounder, but still 37% from three. Um, you know, 1 point, just under 2 blocks a game still, and I mean he's slow footed, right? But I mean he's really like the perfect center you want around a guy like Giannis, and it's so great that like he's been there that pretty much that whole time, because um just because again he's literally perfect to be around him. Him and Bobby Portis are like they've been there for a while. They're like the perfect bigs to have with Giannis, and I think a lot of guys that like I'm sure like Zion would love to have a guy like that because Zion's never really had real stretchable center. He had Valanciunas for a little bit, but Val is
Yeah.
like an 8 foot. He doesn't really
Yeah.
have a long range. And now this year, I mean, he's pretty much the Missy is like their rookie center is like the best thing they got. Um, and even though they did just get Olenek too, but still, Brooke Lopez. I mean, he's 37. I mean, if the Bucks were better, he would probably be number one on this list. But the Bucks are just up and down, and again, their defense kind of with him. If he gets pulled out, he's gonna be lost. But rim protection, he's I mean, again, 2 blocks a game. So he's who I have at third.
I like that. I like that. I was surprised that you had Brooke
Yeah.
Lopez. I thought you were gonna go with Bobby Portis. I was seeing the Hawks, not the
He's been
Hawks, the Bucks.
suspended forever.
I was gonna
So
say because you saw their play dipped a little bit with it not having him in that
yeah,
lineup.
he was at the beginning of this season. I kind of predicted he Bobby Portis I had in 6 man of the year running. I thought, I mean, obviously he's not gonna be, but I thought Bobby Portis would have been in the 6 man of the year running because I was expecting, the Bucks to be, I think, the second seed originally. So, but yeah, Brooke Lopez number three.
I like that. I like that. All right, for me, number three, I'm gonna go with Derek White from the Boston Celtics. Man, this guy does not get a lot of love talked about. As I mentioned, when you think of the Boston Celtics, you think of Jason Tatum, who not too long ago just said that he was underappreciated and felt
Yeah.
underrated. And when you talk about the face of the league, considering he has a championship at age 26, multiple
Hmm.
All Stars, multiple conference, Eastern Conference Finals championship appearances. But yeah,
Hmm.
Derek White, man, he's another 3-and-D guy. 16 and a half points per game. You talk about 4 assists, shooting 44% from the field. He gets you 20 points in a good night, especially to a Brown or Tatum don't have it going. And I just mentioned he's a really, really good defender. In a way, I wouldn't say Drew Holiday has slipped as a defender because he is getting up there in age. But you see,
Yeah.
I'd rather trust Derek Wright guard the best perimeter player sometimes. Not saying he's a better perimeter
Yeah.
defender than Drew Holiday. Again,
Yeah.
his
Drew
length,
hasn't had the best
six.
season this year.
Yeah, he's dipped a little bit. Again, it's just
Mhm.
older age and nutrition plays a
Sure.
factor. But he's
Mhm.
about what 4 or 5 years younger than Holiday. So
Yep.
Derek White's like 30. I believe Holiday's at 34, 35. But yeah, definitely getting long. He's lengthy. I believe he's like what 6'4" with like a seven
Mhm.
foot wingspan. So and again, the question his toughness too. I believe when he fell, it's just tooth damn near chipped. Still played in the
Yeah.
game. So,
Mm.
definitely underappreciated for the Celtics. He was a big reason why they won last year's championship.
Yeah, he's gonna be a big reason to why they win this year. Again, questioning, like, how healthy Porzingis will be because, again, Drew Holiday hasn't been the same guy that he's been, but, I was just having this conversation with my dad, on who was more, I guess, of a menace defensively. Was it Derek White or was it when Marcus Smart was with the Celtics? Because, I mean, Derek White
Oh,
got the chase down blocks on
yeah.
block too, but to me, I mean, the question I had or the answer I had to my own question was Marcus Smart was more of a menace, I think, but Derek White's a better play. Like, Derek White's the better player offensively and, like, the whole thing, but,
I think I would say Marcus Smart is more of an athletic defender.
mhm.
Derek
I would
White is more of a psychological, intelligent defender. Like say, he doesn't need to have to use his athleticism to alter shots or to
mhm,
hold you like 3 of 17 shooting from the field. With Derek
mhm,
White, as you just mentioned, the chase down blocks, the blocks like he'll just come from behind or come in front block you.
yeah.
You get the steals and then
He'll go
just be a
straight up
body
and
stop
down with
out.
you sometimes, like,
Yeah,
he'll, like, right off vertical, but
yeah.
yeah.
So
And
I
it's
put
kinda crazy to say it because right, Smart won DPOY 1 year, but,
yeah.
like, it's just, like, it's so crazy just, 6'4", like, just the I think it's the blocks for me in general that made me, like, question that, but I still think I would go with Smart just because kinda just what he, was and being the first guard to win DPOY since, Gary Payton or Jordan, whichever was, earlier, but
Mhm.
so,
That's a good.
yeah.
That's a good solid one. I like that.
My number 2 is Tobias Harris.
Oh, okay.
Tobias Harris is another guy that always had bad rep because of the contract he was making in Philly and kinda how he was with a lot of those teams, he was like 3rd or 4th fiddle, with touches, but Tobias Harris was a guy that once upon a time, like, he was on verge of, like was getting a little bit of all-star buzz just because, like, he was a 20-point scorer on a good Philly team. Again, it was always the contract, and he still has a big contract. I believe he's made the most
Mhm.
money out of any player not being an all-star. I think he's over like 300 million, which is like over in career earnings, which is again insane for someone who's never been an all-star. Um, but
He's made over $300 million.
I think so. I can check it. But I mean, 14 points a game, 6 rebounds. He's really added, some floor spacing for the Pistons this year, which is really what they needed. But here, hold on, let's see. NBA contract
I can
salary.
look it up
Get
too
to
with
it.
you. Cause that I know he never made an All Star, but that contract he had with Philly, that was
Was
a horrible one
huge.
because that was
100.
literally salary cap strap. They couldn't trade him because nobody's gonna willing to take on his deal.
Let's see. Tobias Harris career earnings as of March 23rd. Tobias Harris has earned over 300 million in his career, making him the highest paid player without an All-Star
Crazy.
selection. And I
That's
mean, yeah,
crazy.
he's 32. He's not the youngest player either, but I mean, he's been in the league. He's been reliable again, up and down moments, but he adds spacing for Cade, which again, like I said, that's what they need. He's a part of the reason that's been so good. And again, Tobias, he wouldn't be as high on this list, but Detroit has just, they've met all expectations and exceeded this year. I mean, people probably like. I think people would have comfortably put them at like, okay, they can maybe be a 9 or 10 seed and be in the play in this year. But no, they're about to have a full playoff series, because they're going to miss the play. They're going to probably be the 6th or 5th seed,
Yeah,
which again, and I mean,
yeah, that's crazy.
obviously a lot of that is for Cade, but like with Jaden Ivey being out from his injury earlier this year, and even besides that, it's like him and someone else that could also be on here is Malik Beasley too,
Yeah.
for pretty much the same reasons, and him being doing it pretty much all off the bench most of the time. So, but Tobias Harris is my second guy.
Wow. Okay. I like. Yeah. Tobias. I didn't know Tobias Harris made that much money.
So I
That
know it's
that's
the
fucking
it's the contracts that people just focus on that and they don't actually see what they're doing. But I mean, it was bad contract. I'm not gonna act like he was getting like that's what he should be getting paid. But
yeah. That's crazy. All right. Well, for me, number two, I'm gonna go from Josh Hart. Go with Josh Hart from the New York Knicks, man. A couple of games this year. This man's had a triple double, especially too recently with Jalen Brunson being out with that ankle injury. He's definitely stepped up the load. Has been on
yeah.
him to be the playmaker. You know, we had games with 11 assists, 7 to 6 assists. He's averaging about 14 points a game, almost 10 rebounds, just under 6 assists, and shooting about 53% from the field, which is top 20 in the league so far. So he's a bucket getter. He's legitimately an do it all guy. You need him to rebound, block shots, play defense, pass, play make. He is that dude. And again, like I said, when you watch the New York Knicks, like, okay, Jalen Brunson is obviously the face of the franchise. Carl Anthony Towns is second, but a lot of people don't look and like, okay, who's the third option? Is it OG? Is it maybe Mikael? Is it Josh Hart?
Mhm.
A lot of people kind of underlook
Yeah.
or overlook Josh Hart in a way because again, he does everything. When if Cat's not getting the rebounds, which he mostly does, but let's just say Cat's in foul trouble or is getting those boards, gobbling those boards. Hart is more capable at his 6'4", 6'5" frame of getting you 10, 12 rebounds a night, and he's that good, that explosive.
Hmm.
Especially again, like I said, getting the offense started. So I got Hart as number two for most underappreciated players.
Okay. Yeah. Um, my number one, not being biased, but it's just the way I look at it. Number one for me is Al Horford.
Mm,
Al Horford, I mean, his stats, I mean, it's only 8 points, 6 rebounds, but I mean, 36% from three. He's 38 years old. I mean, a block a game, and he plays 27 minutes a game still. Like he's like not playing like 20 minutes or something, less than 20 minutes. I mean, he can stretch the floor. He can guard pretty damn good for being a 38-year-old slow-footed guy. Um, but when the when he retired, like say if he was retiring after this year, that's a big hole that the Celtics would need to fill for like
yeah,
because he's only making about $9.5 million, and you're getting such good production from him. Now, granted, I'm sure yes, you could find someone that's younger to do it, but someone that's younger is going to mean more money, which the Celtics don't have, and it's just a hole that he's just a good player that you had signed and you didn't have to really acquire, and he's just been there forever. He's been a big part of the Celtics pretty much since 2017, even though he left for a little bit to go to Philly and OKC. But I mean, he's gonna be a big slot to fill whenever if he retires and the Celtics are still like contenders like that because again, we got guys like Luke Cornett playing, but Luke Cornett doesn't stretch the floor anymore. And he's way more slow footed than what Al Horford is. So again, he's a he's just one of the most valuable pieces, and I really don't think that it's crazy to say that like if he wasn't on the team last year, like I think the finals would have been closer than a 4-1, or like other series while Porzingis was gone, for the playoffs. So
Mhm.
again, it might be a homer pick, but again, I think just that aspect is something that a lot of teams just don't have, especially when you are such a high caliber, top 3 team in the league. So
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. So for me, my number one most unappreciated players is another dude from the New York Knicks. This dude hasn't missed a game in God knows how long, probably dating back to high school. Mr. Iron Man, NBA Iron Man himself, Mikal Bridges. This man is always clocking in and clocking out of work. And what do we say? The best ability is availability. This man
mhm,
always shows up. He does get injured, knock on wood. Hopefully that streak continues. And he doesn't
mhm.
complain. Well, recently he complained. Tom Thibodeau was like, "Yo, you're playing us too many minutes." And if it's coming from Mikal Bridges, a guy who
Yeah.
doesn't get hurt, who always shows up, Tom Thibodeau is doing something wrong. But
Mhm.
again, too, he's also putting up the numbers. He's just not no regular average player. He's a
Yeah.
he's a bucket getter. 18
Uh,
points a game, shooting around 50% from the field, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Not too long ago, hit a game winner in Portland. This guy is a legit wing 3 and D guy, can
mhm,
defend, knock down shots, can play some defense, man. And he is a coach's dream, a guy again who always shows up to play. The NBA's Iron Man, he doesn't miss games. And if he missed a game, okay, either he's seriously hurt or
mhm.
he's dealing with something personal. But
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges and missing games does not go in the same sentence. But yeah, he's definitely that NBA's Iron Man for sure. So he's for me my number one
Yeah, off
underappreciated player.
topic, but, who do you think's the best defender on the Knicks? Is it Mikal or is it OG?
I would say OG because he's a little bit more stronger.
Alright, yeah,
Yeah,
I 100% agree.
yeah.
So, I think OG is bigger to put on, like, is a better guy to put on, like, the wings, the bigger, stronger wings, but Mikal, could be he's good on the guards because Mikal's got a crazy wingspan too for his, height, so, but yeah, alright, I agree with that. Yeah, I like those. I think they're all, I mean, unappreciated to a, extent. I kind of went like obviously just because Josh Hart wasn't on mine. Josh Hart was a guy I was thinking of, but again, I wanted to go kind of a little bit more under the radar, or just guys that weren't on everyone's mind. But I like your picks too. So,
Thanks, man.
um,
Appreciate it. Yeah, your picks are good as well.
all right, now we're gonna do who do you think will be who could make their potential first time All Star next season? I really didn't have that many guys because it's hard to be a first time All Star, especially in today's league when you have guys like LeBron and Durant, like guys that are gonna make it every year pretty much until they retire just because of who they are and the caliber that they still are at pushing 40 or are 40 years old. So I kind of broke it down into 3 categories, and I'll talk about them as they go. But who's your first guy
For
that
me,
could be?
it has to be Jamal Murray from the
Uh-huh.
Denver Nuggets. And again, he was, a sleeper for my underappreciated players list. But you talk
Mhm,
about Jamal Murray, he legit puts up all-star type numbers. He's
mhm,
been averaging 20 points a game since 2020. 21, 20, 21, and now 21 and a half this year. So I think he's due to make an all-star appearance. Not to mention, too, he's arguably on the top 3 or 4 teams every single year. Not to mention, this guy's an NBA champion, and he came back from a torn ACL. So I think he's due. And the fact that he hasn't been an All Star is a crime. I don't want him to be on that list of yeah, he was a good player, but he never been an All Star because when you look at his numbers scream, okay, this guy's a perennial All Star. And if you take him off the Denver Nuggets, all right, who else is going to be that second scoring option? Because MPJ, Michael Porter Jr. is inconsistent. Aaron Gordon again, he's inconsistent. Aaron Gordon's not a primary scorer. He's a good primary defender, but he's not a primary scorer. So I think Jamal
Mhm.
Murray again. We talk about dudes 27, 28 being a first time All Star, putting up his numbers. I think he should have been that, but I think he's well due. But again, it's gonna be so hard because the West is just packed with guards, man. You talk about Edwards, Josh, Steph, Luca,
Yeah.
and James Harden's had a resurrection. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's gonna be hard. I think if you got of those teams, the only way I think he legitimately makes it if it's he has like a crazy year where he's averaging like
Yeah.
25 a game, which is gonna be hard because Jokic is gonna be averaging that amount. But
Yeah,
if
and
one of
the
those,
Nuggets are like a
don't
1
play
seed.
that much, yeah, unless one of those guys you don't play that much,
Mhm.
or like they just have a crazy year. But I think Jamal Murray has the potential to be a first time All Star because again, he's in his prime, so it's not like he's like a 33, 34-year-old guard. He's 27. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
pick.
So my first category, again, that this might mess up how you were gonna throw them out because I have these guys are they would have been an all-star this year if they did not get hurt. I think they were completely on their way of being there. Um, the first one is Jalen Johnson. I mean,
Mm,
he was,
all
I think, 100% going to be an all-star before he went down for the year. He only played 36 games, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and he was legitimately their second option. That pick and roll between him and Trey Young was really
right.
good. Again, he become a pretty good ball handler too, and he was running in the running at one point for most improved player too. I think that was especially last year. I think he probably would have been in it again, but he just gets hurt. Again, I'm just gonna go with these ones again to get him out the way. Chet Holmgren. I think Chet Holmgren also, he was DPOY
Mhm.
leader for the first part of the season until he went down. He's come back and he's had some good games. And they're still testing out the Hartenstein and Chet minutes, but I mean, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 37% from three. But again, only 24 games played. I think he 100% would have been a All Star this year. And that last guy is Franz Wagner. He was
Mm,
averaging 24 and 5.
I like that.
Still 30% from three, which again isn't great from what you want to see from a guy like that, especially the Magic who have no 3-point shooting over there, or just not great 3-point shooting. But I mean, 24, 6, and 5 almost. He did play 51 games, so he's going to miss that just by a little bit, but nonetheless, he missed it and he couldn't get it
Mhm.
earlier this year. But yeah, those are just the guys that I think would have been all stars, but I have other picks that I think will progress there or could progress there. So
I like that. I like that. I think definitely Chet will do as well too, especially again he doesn't get hurt and OKC continues their hot streak that they've been on being a top
yeah,
a seed in the Western Conference, especially if they continue to be if they'll be like a top three seed again next year. But Chet is talented, and the only thing is can't get hurt. Maybe who else could be maybe somebody from the Cavs as well too. You think maybe DeAndre Hunter could be an All Star if the Cavs have the year that they have next year?
I don't think
He again, if he's getting you 20 points off the bench, imagine if they say, we're gonna put you in the starting lineup because you just have the hot hand
yeah.
and you're a bucket getter. There's a lot of options there. A lot of options there for sure.
Who what's another one you have?
For me, first time All Star, man. I think you might like this, but Stephon Castle from the Spurs. He again, him. Fox is now, I believe, the point guard, but they switch
Yeah.
back and forth between that position. But I like Castle's game. Again, this guy went to UConn, won a national championship. He was coached by Dan Hurley, and Popovich, so he knows what it takes to be aggressively coached. And
Mhm.
he's talent, man. He's athletic. He has speed to him. He can defend, man. I definitely like his game. I think probably maybe he might be 2 years away because
Yeah.
again, the West is just so tough with guards. But let's just say again, if somebody, knock on wood, gets injured, and again he goes crazy, gets a huge
Mhm.
bump in his second year, he could be looking at all-star because again they were clamoring for Norman Powell, a 32-year-old guard, to be an all-star. He
Yeah,
should have because of his numbers, but hey, you know, Stephon Castle, we got big things for the Spurs to be good teams.
yeah.
I think that he'll be a candidate to look out for first time potential all stars. Also, too, I also wanted to mention Brandon Miller too from the Charlotte
Mhm.
Hornets.
Yeah.
He had an impressive second. It was the second year, right? Yeah, second year
Mhm.
with the team. Again, took over when LaMelo Ball was hurt. Nice, he was averaging 25, 30 points a game. He was a legit number one option. He's 6'7", long, lengthy, athletic as well too. So I think also he's due for a first time All Star. But the Hornets, they gotta play better basketball.
Yeah,
They're
they're
just
run so poorly over there, it
yeah,
sucks, but,
but yeah. So
um
those are
yeah, Castle, I do think if anything, he would be maybe 2 years away,
yeah.
just because, again, like you were just talking for, who's the first guy you said?
Jamal Murray.
Oh, right, just like for Jamal Murray, like with the guards out west, especially when you have an all-star guard on your team in the what De'Aaron Fox, who we expect to come back fully healthy, since he's going down for the season with his pinky, was it? Pinky surgery or whatever it was, but, I think them it's gonna be hard. The Spurs would have to be really good for them to because I mean, Wemby's gonna be a lock pretty much forever now,
Mhm.
and I think De'Aaron Fox would be their second guy, and again, Castle, he just had a 14 assist game, I think that was last night, but, and again, he also isn't necessarily 100% guaranteed to start because he said he wants to be a point guard, but again, he's not starting over De'Aaron, but
Unless
you
they
also
move the air into the two.
but you got Devin Vassell.
Oh yeah, someone's gonna have to play. Yeah.
So, I mean, he could just go back to like a 3 like he was with UConn and what he kinda has been doing this year too, but it's kinda like, if Chris Paul's not coming back next year, do you just kinda let him be that super, that 6th man that can kinda he can come in, he can close games at the 3, but, he's kinda maybe he'll be a 6 man of the year type of guy next year, and then maybe by year 3 or 4, maybe he gets some all-star buzz depending on how good the Spurs are and, other draft picks that they get, but, um the guy you said, Brandon Miller was one of my guys that for the second category I have are the main guys that I think could definitely do it next year. Brandon Miller was pretty much he was looking like the 1 seed to a point where people were questioning, do we trade LaMelo and build around Brandon
Mhm,
Miller?
mhm.
And I think while I mean, I'm not the hugest LaMelo Ball fan, but I mean, LaMelo Ball was an all-star 1 year, but I mean, Brandon Miller 21 points, 5 rebounds, again, only 27 games this year, but I mean, he had a crazy start to the season to the point where I think that next year when this time comes around, God forbid that they're all healthy over there and that they're not like a 14th seed again. Or whatever they are this year. I do think that he could. Um, I just do think with his progression and the kind of mode that he is, he could definitely get in there. Especially since I believe this year with the All Star voting, the East was kind of lacking with the forward position, anyways.
Yeah.
So and we'll see who the Hornets get in the draft again this year. Hopefully they pick somebody better than they did this
Yeah.
past draft, but
Mhm.
yeah, Brandon Miller was a good one. One of my other guys for the main people I think could do it is I think I said this last week maybe, but Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy always got, you know, kind of screwed with having Brandon Miller, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson all on the same team because he was always going to come off the bench. And even if one of those guys got hurt, like if Ingram got hurt, oh well, Herb Jones can slide down to the 3, and then we'll start, Jose Alvarez, we'll just start other guys because we don't need all those wings. But Trey Murphy, I think with Ingram being gone, Zion, hopefully, Zion's looking pretty healthy, and we hope and assume that he will be next year too. That Trey Murphy could get into that thing again. 21 points, 5 rebounds. He has a pretty similar stats and cases like what Brandon Miller does to me. Again, 2 different conferences, but Um, yeah, I think Trey Murphy depend. Hopefully, I mean, I the Pelicans can't have a worse season than what they're having this year. Like Dejounte should be back. CJ will be back. I mean, unless they do trades or something, but they're gonna hopefully have their whole starting lineup back. So and Trey Murphy, he just went out for the year too with I think it was his labrum or something.
Yes, yeah,
Which was it was such an unfortunate way for him to get that because he kind of got like kicked or something, I think by like Asar Thompson. But um yeah, Trey Murphy is one of my guys. I think he has the best shot for me of this category. That's not, like Chet or Jalen Johnson, but
yeah. I agree.
you have any more?
Those are the three that I came off with top of
All
my
right,
head.
I've got one more for this main thing.
Uh,
Is Jalen Green. I think
Oh yes,
depending on what the Rockets do, maybe not this off season, but maybe like next trade deadline or the off season after, which I guess wouldn't matter for next year's All Star game. But like, um, I've always been a big fan of Jalen Green's game. Again, he can be streaky too to a point, but I think if Sengun got in this year and the Rockets have been this good, I think that if everyone gets another year of experience, Amen Thompson another year. I mean, guys like Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard. I mean, even him and Sengun, like, and they're really this good again. They could have two All Stars again, or if he explodes to get like 26 points a game, I believe he could make it over Sengun for their team if they did have just one. So, my guy for he's my last guy for this category, and then I have one guy which it's a stretch pick that like they would have to really step it up, but I think has is in the situation to where they could um get there, but and it's kind of bogus because I didn't put Jamal Murray in this, which he could have been, but my stretch pick is MPJ. I
oh,
think MPJ could
okay.
he started his career off pretty bad with like I think it was a back injury or something,
Yeah,
I
the
think,
back,
but
yeah, the back.
you if you listen to guys like Trey Young and other people from that draft class say that he was like the best player in like college or just in that area of like, whether it was the McDonald's All-American timeline or like the college timeline, like it was really they were talking so highly of him. And I mean, he's a good rebounder.
I think at the time wasn't he like the number one recruit coming out
Yeah,
of college?
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's like he could, I think, do it. Like again, is he gonna get it over Jamal Murray? Probably not, but I mean, he gets a bunch of rebounds. He obviously doesn't get the assist, but he could be a scorer. And if the Nuggets really jump back into being a top, well, I don't know what the Nuggets are. That like 2 through 5 seed in the West keeps jumping all around. But I think MPJ again, it's a stretch pick for a reason, but I think that there's a possibility that he could make it at some point. So um that's all my potential first time all stars that I just thought could. I mean, again, I kind of went through it by like draft class, like I didn't really think anyone from this rookie year would make the jump to All Star. And then I kind of just went like that all drafts through and just kind of looking at teams. But again, yeah, I think that it's just so hard to be a first time All Star unless you're like a number one overall pick who just was on a bad team and you're gonna eventually get there. But and just injuries because not everyone will be injured next year or more people. You just never know. So I think it's hard to kind of pick those, but um, we'll get into our top 10 power forwards. Now this position is loaded.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the point guards where it's kind of like it feels crazy to leave some of these guys off because you can only have 10. So you want to start with your 10th?
Oh, all right. Yeah. There was a lot of good people that got left off because, like you said, this position is loaded. Especially, you got some small forwards now playing the power
Right.
forward
I was
position.
just going to say that so like I might have somebody that you won't have because maybe you included him on last week's small forward episode. So just Just saying that. So again, I
Yeah.
know there will be some guys that you include on small forward that I have on power forward, but just for everyone else that, it's like just because we don't have someone that might be top 10 in the league doesn't mean that we don't think they're a top 10. They're just probably a different position. So
Yeah, of course,
go
of
ahead,
course.
go with your 10th.
All right, so for me, number 10, I'm gonna have to go with, well, I mean, he's a center, so I can't, but he plays both. See, this is the thing I hate about this fucking positionless shit NBA. I don't know why they do this.
Hmm.
I think we should just bring it back 1 through 5 because you're like, okay, he plays a power forward, but he also plays a center. So then when we're doing this list, but okay, you know what? For me, I'm gonna go start at number 10. I'm going to go with Zion Williamson. Now, again, health has been an issue. We understand that, but
Hmm.
when this guy plays, he is a great, great player. Again, we talked about, I believe, what he came off a triple double not too long ago. He's averaging 25, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He's top 15 in field goal percentage. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be eligible because of his, limited games that he's played. But this is where I'm going to give him a pass because when you see him play, this guy is talented. We can't ignore that. He's
Yeah.
talented. He's strong. He's explosive. He's athletic. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I got to go with Zion Williamson as number 10 for me.
Uh-huh. I do this all the time, and I'm sorry. My honorable mention guy that I always do it just to because, but my honorable mention is Julius Randle. They've had the Wolves have looked better. He's averaging 19, 7, and 5, but they've had that streak. They had that streak once upon a time where they were in double digit wins with him in his last however many games. But he's my honorable mention. But let me go. My number 10 is OG Ananobi. Um, OG again, the Knicks, like Josh Hart, McKell, and OG, they kind of switch all through that shooting guard through power forward position over there. But I mean, 17 points, 1.5 steals, 1 block. Again, I think he's the best defender the Knicks have, and he's one a perfect guy. I think that would fit on any team. The contract again, it's kind of raw. I mean, that's a
Massive.
crazy contract for a guy that's never been an all-star, never been like, and he's not going to, and he's a complimentary piece, but it just that contract is crazy. But I think he's the best defender than on the Knicks, and he has an offensive game, 17 points per game. People don't just do that, so it's not like he's just a defensive guy. So
Yeah.
my ninth I have is Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes is 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal and a half, and a block a game. And he's a great defender too. A great playmaker. He can get triple doubles too, or near triple doubles. But the Raptors are so bad this year. They're going to be intriguing for next year, but they'll be intriguing for this next. They'll be an intriguing team next year, but it's just they're just a bad team this year. So
Yeah, so I definitely like that list. For me, my ninth power forward is gonna have to be Domantas Sabonis from the Sacramento Kings. Again, this guy is just a rebounding machine. He's first leading the league in rebounds at almost 14 rebounds a game. Top 20 in assists for a power forward. He's top 10 in field goal percentage at 60% from the field, and again, he's averaging 20 points a game. Demonis Sabonis can do everything. He's like, baby version of Jokic. He's the first Jokic before Jokic,
yeah.
but Jokic just puts up crazier numbers than him. So definitely got to give some respect to Sabonis from here. Probably should be a little bit higher, if the Sacramento Kings won a lot more games and they were on national television more. But he's definitely, for me, in my opinion, one of the best power forwards in today's game.
Well, all right. Um, my eighth is Pascal Siakam. Siakam 21.7 rebounds. Um, he's just a great scorer. He's a good complementary piece to have, especially a guy that is like Tyrese, who's a pass first guy and doesn't always take the scoring job like maybe you would want from like a star guard. But I mean, again, there's not really too much to say about Siakam. Again, he's not the fanciest or the flashiest kind of guy, but I mean, he's been an all-star before, multiple times. He was part of the 2019 ring, for the Raptors, and he's just a good, solid guy to have. So that's really all I have for Siakam. But
Like that. Okay. Whew, this is tough. Probably this guy should be a little bit higher on my list, just because again he's young, and he's also going to get another exception. That's the fact that he hasn't reached that 51 game mark, but the talent's unbelievable, and I believe that he had played more, this team would be higher seeded in the Eastern Conference, and that's Paolo Banchero, 6'10", 250, out of Duke. Man, 25 points a game, 7 rebounds, four, almost 5 assists. He's shooting 44% from the field. As I mentioned again, he didn't play that many games because he started the season hot, but then I believe he tore his labrum or something like that, or tore his oblique, and then I put him
his
out for what, 8 to 10 weeks. Yeah. But if he didn't have that injury, I think he legit would have been an all-star this year. Probably would have been
yeah,
higher on my list.
for
But
sure.
you can tell that Orlando is building around him. He has a bright future there. I think again he would definitely be on the lookout for All Star for next year. The
Yeah,
numbers are there. So Paolo Banchero for me definitely is in that conversation for top power forwards. Again, regardless the side that he hasn't played the
yeah,
50, 55 game.
yeah. I would have guys like him and Zion on if they made the like criteria for the games. But yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable with saying Palo next year. Again, hoping that he's healthy. He'll be comfortably a top 12 player.
I think so. That's a valid take. That's not a shock take. I think I agree.
Um, Give me a seven.
Whew, all right, 7 for me. I'm gonna have to go with your guy, Pascal Siakam. Again, Indiana's had a down year, but he's been consistent. First of all, what the hell has happened with Tyrese Halliburton? I mean,
Yeah,
like oh, he had such a great year last year. Not saying that he's a bad player now, but
yeah, no.
he's very, very streaky. But Pascal Siakam, like I said, Mr. Consistent. 21 points per game this year, 7 rebounds, shooting 53% from the field, top 25 in field goal percentage. This
Hmm.
guy, again, he's a do-it-all player,
Hmm.
6'8", and not to mention too, he's an NBA champion, so he knows what it takes
Hmm.
to win when he won in Toronto a couple years ago, led by Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. So
Hmm.
definitely got to give Pascal Siakam some love right there. He's definitely, in the conversation for best power forwards in today's game. So yeah, that's who I got, number 7.
My next three are they could be so interchangeable. It's so hard to pick between them because they all kind of do similar-ish things for their teams. But I seventh I went with Evan Mobley.
Mm,
Um Super improved this year. Again, he's not a guy that's going to be like improved player of the year or anything because again, he was like a was he a third overall? I think third overall pick of like
yeah, top 5.
2021. 19 points, 9 rebounds, a block and a half, and a steal. He very well could be defensive player of the year after Wemby went down. And he's really the reason why the Cavs are as scary as they are because of the like just confidence boost that he's had and just the things that he's able to do. I mean, he shot better from three this year. He's still not a crazy three taking guy, but he can take them and he can make them of occasionally. And again, he can play. The only reason he's not a center is because they have another guy, Jared Allen, who
Mhm.
he's a center too, but eh, I mean, he's thriving. He's really showing a another side to him that I think all NBA fans wanted him to reach. And I don't think that I don't think that this will be where he stays. I think like say I mean, if anyone from the Cavs, like if they eventually decide to split ways with Jared Allen, I think his numbers will go up a lot. I mean, more rebounds, probably more blocks, more points because he'll get some of the easy looks that Jared Allen gets because of the guys like Darius and Donovan that kind of set them up nicely. But yeah, Mobley's just a he's just a he's just one of the more valuable. I mean, is he a third option on the Cav? Like what I don't know. I don't even know if he's the third best player. Like he could be second best. Like he
Yeah,
could
be a second option.
it
So
kind of it kind of depends on the night for them. So
I
6th,
agree.
um, again, these guys, could be interchangeable, and I wouldn't be upset about it. Jalen Williams, I mean, he's had to play so many positions this year. He's played, I think, the most at power forward just because again the bigs have been so hurt this year. But I mean, he's had some minutes where he's had to play the center. He could be he'll be an off guard or something. But I mean, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, just under 2 steals a game, and he's an elite defender. I've talked about him so much throughout the past few episodes, but I mean, he can dribble the ball, play make. He can really do whatever you need him to do, and he's really the. I do think once Chet's healthy, I think he is the third option, just because I think what the kind of player Chet is more sought after than what like J Dub. Just he's a wing that can do everything, but he just does it better than most wings that we have. And again, elite defender, shot blockers, gets uh he's one of the leaders for steals. Obviously, he's not the leader, but I think he's maybe second or third within steals per game. But yeah, he's my six just because of what he brought to OKC, and I mean he made his first All-Star appearance, so it's got to count for something.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I definitely like that list. And yeah, Evan Mobley, the center, power forward. They got the Twin Towers going on in
Yeah.
Cleveland, so those are interchangeable. So I definitely can't argue with that.
Mhm.
For me, I'm gonna have to go with Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. Probably the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Him alone. I think Draymond Green's also risen up the ranks as well too. But this year, 22 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. My only knock against Jaren Jackson is that his rebounds need to be more than
Yeah.
6 a game.
Yeah.
You are a power forward. You're banging down there in the paint. He should
Mhm.
be averaging 9, 10 rebounds a game. That's
Yeah.
the only knock and why he's not up there. Again, he's still super young, 25 years of age. Doesn't turn 26 until September. So he's young. Went to Michigan State. He's coached hard by Tom Izzo. Again, block shots, rebounds, defense. He is somebody that I want on my team who's knit and gritty. But the only knock against his game is that consistent jump shot, and he needs to get more rebounds. Other than that, he's definitely up there for best power forwards in today's game.
Yeah, it would definitely look nice. It would definitely look better for him to get more rebounds, but thankfully he has some guys that can get some boards behind
That is
him.
true.
Zach Edey,
Yeah.
Brandon Clark gets a good amount of rebounds for him being about 6'8" ish or something like that. And I mean they've got some bigger players, so I mean, it's not the worst thing, especially since they are so good this year. But it definitely, I agree, it definitely would look better if he was getting some more boards. But who's your fifth? Top five here.
All right. This is where the list. this is where the list starts to get a little wonky. But again, since these players are interchangeable, I'm gonna have to go with you had Evan Mobley because even though he does, I feel like he plays more center than power forward. He
Mhm,
is listed as a power forward on ESPN and NBA, so I'm
mhm,
just gonna have to go what they have him listed again. I hate the fact that we're in a positionless NBA. It makes no sense, but the jump that he has taken
mhm.
this year, being a first time All Star, you know, in the running for probably most improved player of the year, mentioned 19 points, 9 rebounds. That's about rebounds that Jaren Jackson should be averaging. He's top 15 in field goal percentage. Like you mentioned, he's arguably, second option on the team. I think he's a better player than their point guard. I think so because it's like, yeah, the only thing he does he can't have the ball in his hands. But when you look at it, it's like he can post up, he can shoot, he has a handle. Why
Mhm,
not? Donovan Mitchell, obviously, he's the best player on the team. Well,
mhm.
you look at who's the best player. I think his second best player, excuse me, is that got to be Evan Mobley. And
Yeah.
will he finish his career in Cleveland because he's so young, 23 years old?
Mhm.
Probably, we'll see in the player movement. But I think anybody, all 29 of the teams in the league, will be happy to get their hands on him.
For sure. Yeah, again, Mobley, J-Dub, and the last guy that I think you could switch any of those three and it wouldn't really make too much of a difference is Jaren as well. I
Mhm.
mean, 20, like you said, could also win Defensive Player of the Year this year. And he's The jump shot, he shoots like a little kid, like his form, like he
Mhm.
kind of just hoists it up there, and it works. But he's such a confident scorer too, from a guy that because he's had those couple years where Memphis kind of was battling injuries, Jaw wasn't there, and they weren't really playing for much, like especially last year, where he could play around with it and kind of get confident with himself. He could be the ball handler and kind of just become pretty much an all around scorer. And I think that is, I think that's the next step for a guy like Evan Mobley. Now, it's gonna be harder for him because of the team that the Cavs have is way better between the stars up front, and even the bench depth to me is better by having guys like Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter. But I think that is what will take a guy like Evan Mobley to the next step, because while Jaren is only averaging 3 more points per game, he can score efficiently in more ways to me, and I think that's just why he gets the boost above a guy like Evan Mobley for me. So, yeah, he's my 5th. 4th, I'll go into I have Kevin Durant.
Mm, okay.
Um, Kevin Durant, 26 points, 6 rebounds. 52% from the field, 42% from 3. He's still probably the most efficient scorer we have in this league. It's almost like watching, like, since he's so efficient, it's like he should probably shoot more. Like, he should probably shoot more, because like if you're shooting that efficient, it's almost like you're not shooting enough. But
Yeah.
again, he early in the year he had some MVP votes. The Suns have fallen off a cliff since then, though. I think they're I think they're the 11th seed, maybe. I think they're not even in play in yet, because I think they will get it, because I think Dallas is the 10th seed, and I'm sure Dallas will fall out with how their season's going. But I mean, the 10th seed for Phoenix, man, it's rough, because I
So,
had them. I thought they were going to be a top 6 seed out west, but I guess I picked wrong. So, um, but yeah, he's my 4th.
I like that. I like that. All right, for me, my fourth, I'm gonna have to go with Julius Randle for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, he's
Oh,
had a little bit of a down year compared to last year with the Knicks, 24 points per game, and the year before that, 25. He was a two-time All-Star with them. And I think there was a stat you mentioned it on last week's episode that they were like 12-0 when
yeah.
Randall came back
I
from
don't know
injury.
I don't know if that
Baseball.
streak is still alive or not yet.
Yeah,
Let's
that probably that I think that's probably done because I think they lost like the last few games. But yeah, you talk about Randall, everybody's like, well, he hasn't been this great. Yeah, because he's on a new team. Again, he's gone from being the number one option to having a team literally stolen from him by Jalen Brunson to now having played second fiddle behind Anthony Edwards. So that's a big adjustment. But definitely, again, you ask somebody who's strong, who can, defend, who's a back to the basket type of guy.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned again, strong too, has a nice little mid range jump shot. People are sleeping on Julius Randle. I think again,
Yeah,
numbers may have dipped because his role is different, but he's still a pretty good player. I think he's still top five power forwards in today's game. So I got him at number four.
that I mean, I think that's pretty high over some of those, other guys like Jaren and Mobley. I mean, he's a good playmaker too, like, he's always been a good playmaker. But, I mean, his sometimes his body language and just
That's the only
he's
knock.
kind of just, and I get he's kinda like Siakam in a way, where he's not the funnest player to watch, but I mean, they get their stats, they get their all-star appearances, and they lead to wins. But, man, top 4th is, I mean,
Because I'm looking at because again, he's in a new role. When he was with the Knicks, he was thriving. That man was a
yeah,
back-to-back All-Star, 24 points a
he
game. Like you
was.
mentioned, the body language is awful, but when he is getting the ball, first of all, any star who's not getting the amount of shots and the ball not going through him would be a little bit unhappy because you have an ego when you're like, oh, you're the face of the team, you're the face of the franchise, and now Jalen Brunson, some 6 foot guard comes and takes it away from you. He's like, oh well, fuck, I don't want
See,
to be
but I feel like that he had that issues even before Brunson was who he
there.
was, and even before Brunson was there, because he's been there for a little while
Yeah,
before,
but it started to be more prevalent once Brunson came, and you can
right,
see, okay, Brunson is the better player out of the two.
yeah,
That's Brunson's team now. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't know. I think he'll go back to what he used to be, but he's still an adjustment period.
All right.
Being now being second fiddle.
Well, go ahead to three.
For me, the guy that you just named, Kevin Durant. Like I said, man, he was a small forward, but now he's playing power forward. They got him listed as power forward slash small forward on the website. So we're
Hmm.
just gonna go with small forward. But KD, first of all, you want to talk about a guy who's come back from probably a career-ending injury and toward Achilles. That's like a death sentence for NBA players. But I believe he's found the formula. He's arguably been better post Achilles injury than pre
Yeah.
Achilles injury. And again, this season, 27 points per game, 50% from the field, super efficient, six
Uh-huh.
rebounds, can legit play 1 through 5. He is
Mhm.
as skilled as probably we've ever seen. The shot making is unbelievable, and Kevin Durant can block some shots too as well too. Could get his hands dirty
Yeah.
on the defensive end, and obviously numbers doesn't translate to the wins. And a
Mhm.
win column for the Phoenix Suns, that's not his fault. That's management thinking that this is 2K. They could just get three ball dominant all-star players and think it'll work together. It doesn't work that way. Bradley Beal has hindered his team because he doesn't want to move, not wanting to waive his no trade clause, but that still doesn't change the fact that Kevin Durant is arguably one of the top 10 players still in his advanced age in today's game. Oh yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, and 36 years old, and he's still, one of the best players in the league. It's
It's
just,
crazy.
it's crazy. And um, again, this is another situation where my number three and my number two, you could switch them, and I wouldn't be upset. But I gotta go. Well, my three is LeBron. Um, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. This is probably my favorite Laker season from LeBron. Just because I think it's just been more fun. I think it's just been more fun to watch, and they're back to being like legit. Like they're again, I don't know necessarily 100% where they are in the standings because that again that Western
I believe
Conference is
they
always
slid a
switching.
little bit. I could tell you right now.
They're fourth, so
Yeah.
they just got beat down by Chicago. Um,
Yeah, Memphis, not Memphis, Nuggets are 2 games ahead of them.
Yeah. See, it just switches so much again. I think LeBron did come back. I don't think he had the greatest game, but he
Mhm.
did come back from the groin injury. But I think I think the Lakers might slide a little. I don't think they're gonna get back to that 2 seed just because I think there are some teams in the West that are playing better, and as we can see already, that are leapfrogging them. But I mean, he's 40 years old. He's still top seven, top five player in the league. It's crazy what LeBron does and how I mean, giving him a guy like Luca now again might not equate to anything this season because it's something new and they don't have the perfect team around those two. But I mean, it's fit pretty good for people that were so skeptical about it. But yeah, LeBron's my three and my second, which again you could switch, I wouldn't be upset. I have Tatum, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He's one of the few players that through history that in their first 8 years of their career, their playmaking numbers has gone up every single year. Now that literally means like his there were a couple seasons I think his assist literally might have went up like point 0.1 or point 0.2, but I mean he went from his rookie season where he was um he was averaging just 1.6 assists to now he's averaging 6. So, I mean, that's kind of a part of the game that as a Celtic fan watching him early on, it's like I don't know if it will ever come around, but I mean, it's come around perfectly. He's one of the best passers for his position. You can't really it was always a thing, especially in the 22 finals versus the Warriors, where it was like make Tatum panic. He's a young star who likes to score, make him panic, make him be a decision maker, which he's not evolved to yet. And I mean, he's evolved pretty good since then. I mean, the year after they almost made the finals. Last year they won the finals, and this year they could go back to the finals or conference finals depending on how the Eastern playoffs lay out. But um, I mean, he's just the playmaking gives it such a such a boost for what it is because I think young players at that point, like we saw with Anthony Edwards, don't necessarily want to pat. Like Anthony Edwards had that quote earlier this season where I don't want to be double teamed. I don't want to have to play make. I want to be able to take shots. And I think that's really where these young players like him, like Tatum, I mean, some guys are just born with it, like Luca, and Shea and things like that. But like, I think that's really where these young stars make their elite jump into superstar potential. And I mean, Tatum's done that. Tatum's been there. Again, if you have LeBron over him, can't be upset. But again, Celtics are better. They're pretty much locked in for the 2 seed. So yeah, Tatum's my number two.
All right, I like that. I like that. I think I had him at like what 2 or 3 when we did the small forward list.
So, yeah.
For me, my second power forward is gonna have to be the guy from New York. They call him Big Bodega now, Carl Anthony Towns. I wouldn't say he's taken a jump, but he's been more comfortable in this new role. Obviously, he was
Mhm.
the second best player in Minnesota, but now him getting more shots, being more comfortable in that pick and roll with Jalen Brunson is averaging what 25, almost 25 a game. 53%, almost 50% shooting from the field, 13 rebounds. I believe he's like second or third behind Domas for league
Yeah, I think so.
leaders in rebounds. And he's, again, top 30 in field goal percentage. So the guy's a stud, and we're seeing the true Carl Anthony Towns. Being in New York has kind of made him more aggressive. He's dunking the basketball, he's blocking shots, he's talking a bunch of
Mm.
junk. That soft narrative about Carl Anthony Towns kind of gone away since he's been in New York. I don't know if he bought a house in the Bronx or wherever in Jersey, but he talking like a real New Yorker in the city. But yeah, so definitely that man stepped it up, and we see again got a guy who can knock down threes, arguably the best three, the best shooting big in the game. Talk about three and D that can stretch. So I got Carl Anthony Towns, second best power forward today's game.
I've got to slow you down I mean, probably here too, but especially on my personal channel. I've talked about how Cat at the being a rim protector, it's been a rough watch this year, at least for me. I mean, he just gets walked down. Like he'll be standing right there, and someone smaller will just go right over him, or he'll be late to go for the block attempt. And that's my biggest gripe with him. I
Yeah,
know defense. He's not. You don't have Cat for defense. That's why the
yeah, yeah,
Timberwolves brought
yeah,
in Rudy Gobert, but. It's been one of the more frustrating things for me this season is just how his defensive ability at the rim. Now Grant, he has been a top 12 player, I think, this year for sure, top 10 probably, but it's just that he doesn't provide the rim protection you want. And I guess that's good that Mitchell Robinson's coming that has come back, but still when a guy like you when you're on the Knicks and Cat's probably gonna play like come playoff time, 38, 40 plus minutes a game, Mitchell Robinson probably isn't going to be closing out games for you.
yeah.
So you kind of want to have that rim returns and not have it be like OG or really nobody because I mean like even if you're not at heart a good defender, he's a 7 footer. He should be able to get up there and get some blocks. And granted, he does. He gets some chase down blocks. He gets some vertical, but I mean, sometimes he just gets punked by smaller guys, and it's frustrating to watch for me sometimes. But
I think the thing with Cat is that he doesn't really want to play the five. He likes playing the floor, and it's like, yeah, when you're the five,
God,
you'll
is he
still like
Anthony
the
Davis?
stereotype. Hey, you got to get all the rebounds. You got to block the shots. Hey, if anybody's coming down the lane, you got to punch their shot and send it back to the fifth row.
Yeah,
That's
I
not.
do think this has been his best season, though. I will say, just because of the rebounding ability and the kind of him being like last year for sure. Brunson was the number one option, but they're kind of going back and forth. Like between games, Cat could be the number one option depending on if Brunson's taking that playmaking role. Excuse me, taking that playmaking role, or if Brunson, is just going out, then Mitchell Robinson is just a nightmare. Like again, you don't get Cat for the looking at him for the defensive ability. You get him because he's an offensive nightmare to for teams because you have all these guys that can stretch the floor between Mikal and OG. You got a five that can stretch the floor too. Like that's why the Knicks traded for him. It wasn't for him to be a rim protector. But again, come playoff time, what's the easiest shot in the game? It's at the rim. And I mean, if you have a guy that's given up most of the drives on him, then I think that I really think that might be the Knicks' biggest problem, other than maybe the the rotation and the minutes played across their star guys. But I mean, he still had a great season, but it's just the defense. Sometimes it's just the biggest gripe for me with him. So.
I feel you. I feel you.
All right. I think we both have the same number one.
Yeah.
So I'll just get into a Giannis. Um, 30 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, he's shooting 61% on 2 pointers this year. He's added the mid range to his game where it's kind of been money this whole year. Because he's always tried to do the 3-point thing, and he had some years where he was averaging 30%. This year he's averaging 17% from three. It's
Mm,
pretty much his career low, except for his second year where he averaged was on 16%, but he's also taking the least amount of threes per game since that same second year. So again, you can't be there's certain guys where it's like, okay, if he can't shoot, sure, he's still giving you 30 points a game, which would be the third, almost fourth year in a row of him averaging 30. So I still think he's the most versatile defender in the league. Just based on he'll get you steals, he'll block anybody in the league. Um, and I mean, top five player. The Bucks again, wish wash season, but um, and they've had some rough times. But Giannis is without a doubt, I mean, a top three player in the league. He still is, and yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but
No, I mean, well, we both had Giannis number one, as you mentioned again, MVP candidate, second in scoring with 30.2, probably just a point under Shea, presumably MVP. But yeah, I mean, Giannis, we all know, top three player in the game, probably easily the best power forward today's game.
yeah. All right. Now we're gonna get to our ritual every time.
Oh,
Again,
we
we're gonna
go.
we're gonna do two again this week. After next week we'll go back to doing one, but we were behind a little bit. So first team you got is the Kings. Um,
Okay. Should
again
be.
for I mean I'm sure everybody knows how this works now. You get a minute. You're just gonna rattle off players to me, and we're gonna count how many you have. Make sure that all the ones you're saying are on the team still, or always were. So
Okay.
yeah, let me know when you're ready.
I am. I should be ready. Yeah, I think it should be easy. Okay, I'm ready. Yeah.
All right,
Should be.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, obviously you got Demonis Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, Mr. Midrange, Zach Levine, Malik Monk, Keegan Curry. I believe Devin Carter is still there. Jonas Valanciunas, is he still there? I think he got traded. Could be wrong.
Mhm.
I don't know if they saw Markel Fultz. I think Markel Fultz might be there. Who else? Jake, is Jake Crowder there? I think I'm going with Jake Crowder.
Okay.
Doug McDermott. I can't believe forget about Doug. His daddy coaches at Creighton. Who else? Isaiah Crawford. Um, who else? Mason Jones, I think his name is. I forgot. I
Okay.
think that's.
Sounds
Oh, Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles. Yeah, Trey Lyles definitely on the team. I forgot.
okay.
He had a good year last year. That's it. I think that's it.
Okay. Before we check, you got 13.
Missed two.
Again, let's check with their players. Yeah. So Montgomery, Valentine, Devin Carter. Yep. Isaac Jones. Yeah, Isaac Jones is crazy that you named him. Doug McDermott, Markel Fultz is here. Oh no, you didn't say Isaac Jones. You said Mason Jones, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isaac Mason Jones don't play for them.
No, Mason Jones does. There's a
Oh, okay.
Mason and Isaac Jones. So
Okay. Oh,
um,
I'm excited.
there, Jay Crowder is here. Isaiah Crawford is another crazy one too.
Who the fuck is Isaiah Crawford?
You said it.
I did? Oh. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. I thought you said
So yeah, everyone you got. The some misses that you had. Jake Laravia. He got traded
who,
from Memphis earlier
who
this
was
year.
that? Jake Laravia?
Or did he get traded from
Oh,
Memphis? Maybe it
no.
was Minnesota. One of the teams that started with an M. And then Keon Ellis was probably your worst miss. But um,
I don't think I would have gotten
all right, not bad though. 13.
that. Okay.
I don't think that's the most you had was 14. You've had 14 a couple times, but so all right, that was good first. Second team is the Pacers.
Okay. Okay. It's not bad. I mean,
Let me know
Pacers
when
are
you're ready.
primetime TV, so let's see. All right. I think I should be ready. All right. I'll see Tyrese Halliburton. We just talked about this guy, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, Obi Toppin, James Jones, the guy who's on there just to fight everybody, scare them away. I think Thomas Bryant's on there too. He used to play for the Heat. T.J. McConnell.
Mhm.
Who else? I think is Isaiah Jackson still on the team? I think so. Neesmith, of course, Neesmith, Andrew Nemhard. How can I forget about Nemhard? He's having a solid season. Who else? I said Isaiah Jackson, right?
Mhm.
I think that's it.
So 20
Ben
seconds.
Shepherd. Ben Shepherd. I think he
Yeah.
played. Did he still play for that team? But I think that's it. I can't think of anybody else.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll call it then.
Okay.
Um, before I check, you got 12. So
Oh,
one less than the Kings. Well, let's make sure. I think everyone you said is 100%. Mather and Toppin. James oh yep, James Johnson is still here. Fight everyone. Thomas Bryant is here.
factor.
Isaiah Jackson he's out for the year though, so that's a
Uh,
good job. And Neesmith and Emhard, Ben Shepherd. Yep. Some guys you forgot. Let's see. Um, Jarris Walker, their pick from last year, I think. Um,
okay.
yeah. That's not too bad. I think at one point they had James Wiseman too, but he got hurt for the year. So,
Oh yeah, and then they cut him.
um,
That's right. Hmm.
yeah. Okay, yeah, not too bad. 12. Um, all right. Is that your? Well, that ties your least, but okay, yeah. I mean, that's still good. You got. I mean, you got. If you get more than the like 10-man rotation, that's pretty good. So, um,
We
but
know our basketball. Let's go.
yeah. All right, that's it.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it. All right, that was another good episode of Hoops All In. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on our social Hoops All In on Instagram, Twitter /X, and YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube Hoops All In. Subscribe to Keith Hoops All In at Keith HAI. He does great work over there. So anything that's news related or a big game that happened, he's the first one to post it on that channel. Also, listen to us on the audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, iHeartRadio, wherever you stream your weekly or daily podcast. Again, don't forget to subscribe and like Hoops All In officially on YouTube. For World Francois, Keith Bazin signing off. We'll be back here for another episode of Hoops All In. Catch you guys later.